Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday. It is Wednesday, isn't it? Yes, it is Wednesday, the 24th of March. It's 10 past 10. I've got a tiny bit of my green screen not there. There we go. Oh no. Come on. You can do it. You can stay there. Okay. As you can see, I'm completely with it today. Absolutely prepared. I know everything that's... No, this is a shit show, obviously. Hello. It is, as I mentioned, Wednesday, and I have done no work since Friday. For a multitude of reasons. Mostly, I've not been well. Partly, I've not been well because of some things that have been happening. I had my PIP assessment on Monday, which, if you're not familiar, is disability benefits in the UK, and our system is fucked up, and the the process of keeping your disability benefit, whilst it's significantly better than many countries, for example, I don't lose my disability benefit because I'm married, which is a significant improvement over the US. There's still a lot of problems with it. It's very much based on forcing you to really rigorously prove how disabled you are, and with a variable condition that's even worse. I have some trauma associated with the benefit system because I was rejected in the past, and spent a lot of time having to fight through that and go to tribunal, and it was a really horrible process, and I don't want to have to do that again. But I had to be reassessed because I can no longer walk more than 30 meters without severe pain and difficulty, so I needed them to respect that new thing, and we'll see. I'll find out in 8 weeks. I had a lovely assessor. She was very kind, which is something you need with a person who's going to be asking you the questions they ask you, and I think I managed to say everything I needed to say, but it's a bit of a crapshoot, and it's still really unpleasant, and it was an hour and a half long, the assessment, so I've been very tired since then. I was very anxious on the way up to it and through it and after it, and my body is kind of all over the place. I've got a lot of pain going on, I've got a lot of aches going on, I've got a lot of tiredness going on, but I'm here, and I didn't think I was going to manage to be. I always didn't manage to be. I'm going to be honest with you. The reason we're slightly late is I got up at 9:45. Fortunately, it doesn't take me very long to get ready, but that's why we're here slightly late, and also a bit of a mess. Like, we started with the wrong stream information, so if it looks like we're playing Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, don't worry, we're not. I have updated it now. I am here. I'm a bit of a mess. We're gonna try and sort the mess out, because I've reached that point, and anyone who's had any time away from work in general or from a project that they've been working on will know it only takes a few days, and then you feel like you've completely lost control of everything. You don't know what's going on, and you're an utter failure. Or is that just me? That might just be team perfectionist. Anyway, we're going to try and make me feel like not an utter failure. I shall remind myself that I've got this piece of paper here that says I have a distinction. Yeah, it's still on my desk. And that I got that distinction despite having weeks like this. So it's all going to be fine. But I do want, effectively, I'm at the point where I need to look at things and sort things out for the benefit of my well-being. Not even necessarily to get tons of work done today. I wanted to do some yesterday, but I just couldn't. I was just so tired. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what I manage to do. Hi, Stumble. Yeah, the important thing is just to try and get my brain back in the right space. So I'm going to vaguely make a list of things. just a list of things. Just any old things. Hang on, I'll move us over to Notion. There we go. This is my thesis plan. This is not gonna help us because all it tells me is that we're in the video games deep dive, and this is my research questions. Cool. So I'm just gonna. Oh, that's all of our current things we're thinking about. Maybe I'll just make a whole new page in here. Help. What the fuck? There we go. Oh wow, I'll keep that icon. Okay. So, first of all, also my shoulder's getting cut off weirdly, and that's gonna look really strange to you. First of all, my supervision is tomorrow. So we have supervision prep. That's one thing. I was partway through reading something. What was I reading? What was I reading? It was a book, I can tell you that. It was about video games. I think it was this. I think it was Video Games in the Mind. Show me. I think it was that. I'm just going to go through to the link, which you won't be able to see, but then, yes, it was that one. Cool. So I was reading Video Games and Mind. I need to finish presentation. Because my presentation is not next week, but the week after, I think. I'm just going to double check that again on my calendar that you can't see. Sorry about that. That's correct. It's not next week. It's the week after, which means that I can basically, I think, not worry about that too much this week. And we sort that out next week. And then I've got it ready for the week after. Breathe. I promised myself I was going to go through this slowly and steadily, and I was going to take my time, and what have I done? I've rushed headfirst into it. This is the problem that I have. It's not only that I lose time to my illness, I then come back and I'm like, oh my god, I've got to make up for all of it. I built time into my plan for things like this happening. This is fine. I don't need to rush and make up for everything. It's not a thing I have to make up for. Welcome to the inner workings of my neuroses, by the way. Okay. So the other thing that I've been thinking about and sort of, I'll say concerned about, like, or more aware of, is I want to start getting something written down, because at the moment it feels like I'm like just reading, and that's fine. I may need to do that for another few weeks to identify what the things are that I then need to write up. But there are some things I know need writing up, like the history of mental illness in video games, and I know I've got sources for that already and stuff I can branch out to. Just take us back to this. I know, for example, on sound design, I've got a book that's specifically about sound design in games. So that combined with writing about Senua's sacrifice is interesting. I know I've got some stuff on accessibility. There's a conference I can go to that's about accessibility in gaming, but it's the full 2 days before my presentation. So I really wanted to go, but I don't know that it's sensible to. I don't know that I'll manage to. But then it also might be a good thing, because you know, it might mean that I don't worry about my presentation in the days before it. It's hard because the conference will tire me out as well. Obviously I don't have to go anywhere for it, but even just attending remotely is still a lot. Like, it's more hours a day than I'll usually do, so I don't know. Maybe I'll register and just attend as much as I can. It's not all going to be relevant in the same way anyway. Yeah, I'll do that. I know I've got the link. I think the link is on my laptop, but I'll do that. I'll do that later. I'll just write that down, actually. Yeah, I'll put writing ? Because the other thing is that I still don't know I still don't know what the structure of my thesis is, and I know that we decided that was okay, but it's still worrying me. And I know I can get stuff written in a way that I'm then going to be able to piece it together, and I know that's probably what I'll do naturally, but I think the awareness that I produce stuff in a way that is different to what I perceive the standard to be. I'm not going to say that there is a normal way to write a PhD, because I don't think there is. It just makes me constantly worry that I'm doing it wrong because I'm doing it my way, and is my way right, and I don't fully trust myself, and it's really hard. It's really, really hard when you combine that with being a perfectionist, and wanting to achieve really well, and knowing that I can. Hello, piece of paper that says I got a distinction in my master's degree. Did I tell you I got a distinction in my master's degree? No? No? Yes, I did. I've said it several times because I'm very proud of it. And I'm gonna say it some more. I think that might be it. I think this is it. I know I want to stream more hours as well. Let's put additional stream day, which I think will be Monday. I think it would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because then that gives me a day of rest. The only other option I'd do is Thursday afternoon, and it would be like after I've had mentoring. But I don't know. We might experiment with different days, because I can't do Tuesdays because there's no way that I can stream on days that although my therapy's in the afternoon, so I guess if I streamed in the morning, even on therapy days, it's not a huge problem. We'll see. We'll experiment with different things. We'll try some different things. I'll work out what's going on. Right. So, thinking it through, of these things, supervision prep is the thing I have to do first. And basically what I want what I want to do for that, excuse me, is I'm just yawning now as well. I'm coughing and yawning and all sorts. I'll sneeze in a moment. The captions are trying, bless their heart, but I did not isosceles in the moment. I love these captions. They're so much better than the alternatives, but if you use captions, if you watch things using captions, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is the best option I have. It's the best option you can get, really, that's automatic. Hi, Strange Enigma. But anyway, yes, supervision prep wise, I basically, so my supervisor has that write up that we did what feels like years ago, that she's been reading. So we'll be discussing that. So I want to read, I'm going to write these down. Read through write up. Then I want to basically take some notes, and it might be that these notes are enough. Basically, I want to be able to tell her the stuff I've been identifying from the things I've been reading, because that's effective. That's my progress, isn't it? Because there's no point me saying, well, I've read 5 articles and 3 books or whatever. Body Keeps the Score is an amazing book. Yeah, it's such a good book. I still think about it now, like months after having read it. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. But yeah, so this list might be enough. But I'll see. What I basically want to do, and I'll put this in. Where's help? What the fuck? Go through notes for identifiers. I think, no, not identifiers. Things I've identified. And yeah, basically make sure that, I mean, that's a useful thing to do anyway. Make sure that list is all up to date with all the stuff I have in my notes. I haven't digitized notes for 3 months. Have I read Sapiens? No. Do you mean Sapiens: A Brief History of Mankind or Humankind? Is that the one? By Yuval Noah Harari? I haven't. But that, I'm just reading about it now. It seems interesting. I mean, it certainly covers a lot. Just, what is it? Oh, it's just the entire history of humankind. Cool. Oh, I'll leave that open, and then I can take a longer look at that later. Thank you. Yeah, so basically I want to put myself in a position so that when I'm talking to my supervisor tomorrow, I don't panic and go, oh, I've done nothing. You know, I don't let my my mental illness speak instead of me, because I've done lots. And I especially don't want to do that after having had a difficult week, right? Because everyone knows that when you've had a period where things are going wrong, it's really easy when you're talking about things with people to be like, everything is terrible, when in fact the last week has been hard. But I think the fact that I'm back here today and doing stuff again is proof that I've managed it very well. And even if we don't manage a ton today, I've done something. And I just have to do the amount of work that I'm happy with. That's a post-it note, by the way, that lives on my desk now. It says, do the amount of work that you're happy with. Not 8 hours a day, regardless, which is what I was previously holding myself to and then failing to achieve every day, because I can't do 8 hours a day. But yeah, I think... Have I made any nutritional changes to optimize my mental health? I currently am not doing a lot to tackle my nutrition. It's a really good question. And I think it's something that can benefit people a lot. The difficulty is it's a really difficult thing to achieve, right? So I have trouble preparing food because of my chronic pain. I have trouble remembering to eat. I have trouble making sure I eat the right things. I'm constantly exhausted, so my body craves things that are bad for it mostly. It craves sugar and it craves you know, stuff that's gonna pick it up. I don't have caffeine, so it's not got caffeine to crave. Caffeine makes my anxiety worse. That's why I don't have that. So I've tried several times to make to optimize my nutrition around my mental health, around my physical health, around just eating healthier, so that I'm, you know, giving my body and my brain the right stuff. But it's really hard, and I fail at it repeatedly. And what tends to happen is it causes more distress for me currently, anyway. I'm not saying this is always going to happen, but basically at the moment I don't have the spoons to handle the stress making those changes brings. I'm hoping that in the future I will. I'm hoping that when, you know, I've been on this medication, the new medication for longer, and where things are, you know, I'll get to a point where I'll have the bandwidth to do that. Thank you for the follow, Alyssa. Yeah, I'm hoping I will get there in the future, but I'm not there currently. And currently it's just better for me to not worry about that, because it means I don't have that extra cause of stress. The one thing I will say that I do is I do take a variety of vitamin supplements. There's some vitamin deficiencies that are really common in fibromyalgia, and I've had them really, really badly. A GP at one point looking at my blood test results, said, "I don't understand how you're awake. I don't understand how you're alive. I don't know if that was my B12 or my D, but one of them was so catastrophically low that my GP didn't think I should be able to move at all." And I couldn't really move very much. So yeah, I take some vitamin supplements, which does help with that fact. Most people should be taking vitamin D supplements because we are indoors a lot. And our diets don't have as much of it anymore, unless you eat a ton of, I think it's oily fish and things like that. In which case you might be okay, or if you work outside all the time. But even then, do I order my food? There's someone to help you. My husband helps, but we also order pre-made meals as well. We have a delivery service that we've used that gives like meals that are good for you, not what you think of as shitty ready meals, but good balanced meals that just have to be put in the microwave or the oven. And that does make a big difference, but it's super expensive, and it's a thing that's only accessible to us because we have the income to do it. It's not accessible to a lot of people. But yeah, so between that and my husband being able to do it, we also have this is my breakfast. This is a Huel bar. It's a complete meal replacement. We then have the stuff that can make hot stuff as well. Yeah, sunlight exposure can do it, but yeah, you also need other things. It's not just calcium you need, it's also is it K2? Yeah, K2 to help you process and absorb vitamin D properly. And yeah, one of the things with fibro is that your body doesn't absorb or process that or B12 very well, apparently. So, well, we don't really understand it because we don't understand my condition very much. I read a study recently that had done a study that suggested that low zinc, magnesium and calcium and high copper was common to people with fibromyalgia, and that reducing the copper in their bodies improved things. So I vaguely I'm gonna look into that at some point. But copper's a hard thing to get out of your diet if you don't eat meat or fish. It's like all of the things that vegans and vegetarians eat. But yeah, it's something I've looked at and thought about, but it's a hard thing to do. Yeah, so do I want to no, I'm not going to list what I need to do for my presentation because I've got that up here. Yeah, so I'm not going to read through my write-up on stream because that seems like an incredibly boring thing to do. But we can go through my notes together. Let me just sort my I'm gonna actually no, I was gonna add it to here because then it's all in one place. Notion, we just opened this. You can manage this. Come on, Notion. Come on, darling. It's all right. I am online. I'm streaming. My stream is fine. Thank you. Right. I'm just getting the excuse me, additional camera sorted so that right, I just need to mute for a second so I can move the microphone around without abusing all of your ears. Okay. I should have coughed properly whilst I had the microphone muted. And then we find out where I've managed to put this camera. Oh, that's not too bad. I've not done too badly there. I'm just gonna move this a bit so it's not weirdly poking through there. I don't know why I'm looking for a pen. I don't really need a pen. So we're just gonna I'm gonna work from this way backwards, I think. And we're just gonna go through all my notes and make sure that everything is added to Notion. In fact, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna do this at all. I've got an idea. I'm gonna bring us back onto here, and what I'm then gonna do is I'm gonna add that extra camera. This is gonna look real weird for a second. Oh, no, it's not. I thought it was gonna come in covering everything. Just 1 second whilst I flip that the right way around, and then I've got to flip it again so that it's not weirdly, there we go. And I'll do that, and then you can see everything because you can see what I'm typing up as well. That makes way more sense. Okay. So, and I could actually drop that down a bit so it's closer in. Hold on, this camera here is going to shake for a moment. Oh no, I don't want to go that far down. Well, it's a bit closer. We achieved very little there. That's the most it can be zoomed in, I'm afraid. Because if I actually zoom the camera, it will just pixelate and you won't see nothing. You won't see nothing. This is not an amazing. I managed to get just my nose in it there, didn't I? Pretty much. Okay. These are my frantic notes made during playing Senua's Sacrifice, so that's why my handwriting is all over the place. Okay, a lot of this isn't about how it's working, because I think at this point I've made lots of notes on how it's working. Okay, so this is... I was reading Video Games in the Mind. So there's... I think this is kind of under identity and identifying. I was going to write the thing about video game avatars specifically. This is such a good quote. Video games are about players' bodies and their embodied agency in the game world. My god. That's why I got really excited reading this book, because this was the first, like, this is just like the intro, and I was like, wow, we've only had the intro and it's already proving my thesis. Oh, and the first paper looked like it was going to be really good for me as well. And there was another thing about sound. Yeah. Oh, these are actually extra books that I should add to my list. Give me just a second. I'm just going to do that now. In fact, if I put you on here, you'll be able to see these as they appear. So basically, I have an extension in Chrome that makes it really easy to add things. So you'll see in a moment. So this is Karen Collins playing with sound. So I've just gone to my university's library. Oh, we have the ebook, yes. And basically I opened the entry page for the book, and then I've got my extension, and you can choose where you add it to. So you can choose what workspace. So obviously I'm adding it to my PhD workspace, and then you can choose what page. So I'm adding it to the reading list, and so in a moment that should then appear. Oh no, it won't appear there because I haven't sorted it. Hold on, let me show you. Status is empty. Where is that? Oh wow, I've got a whole bunch of things in here, it turns out. There you go. And so you can see that it's appeared there. So now when I add the other one, you'll actually see it. Okay, that's someone's thesis, so I didn't think I was going to find that in the university library, but and then I want I've got the video game theory reader too. And that's the video game theory reader. Excellent. So I'll add that. And then basically all I have to do, and you can see that one appeared there, and then you'll see number 2 appear as well. In a moment. And what all I then have to do is categorize them. It sometimes does take, especially if I do 2 in a row pretty quickly, it gets upset with me. Come on, you can do it. Which is why it's why I end up with there we go, it's there. It's why I end up with duplicates sometimes, is because I don't always have this open checking that they've gone through. And then this was better game characters by design. Catherine, oh my god. I'm not going to put her surname in because I don't know what it is. Isbister. Oh, that's a review of it. But it's not. I think that one's a thesis as well. I'm just trying to find. No, it looks like they don't have that one. I think that one might also be a thesis. Cool. So then all I need to do is go in there, and then I want to put that on assess, and I put it into video games. And that's it. It's all done, and it will disappear off here. And then I will delete one of the, oh, no. Oh. Delete one of the duplicates. Here. And so, yeah, sometimes it then has the entire article in. It depends if it's public or not, I think, as to whether it manages to do that. Whilst that's loading, Yeah, so I've got some. I'll put this in actually, and then I change this back to status is not done, and then it will get everything back. There we go. Here we go. So when I was reading the intro to this book, it talked about Perrin, who is the guy who was writing the introduction, had, in the video game theory reader, which we just added, proposed 3 different kinds of emotions in relation to video games: fiction emotions, artifact emotions, and gameplay emotions. Oh, Zania, it's fine. Yeah, Twitch notifications are a little bit unreliable. No, I don't accept friend requests on Twitch, I'm afraid. I don't even have any of my friend. I think I have one friend randomly friended on Twitch from years ago, but I don't do Twitch friends. Yeah, so fiction emotions are emotions that arise in relation to the story. Gameplay is an emotion in relation to, thank you, Sahinia, like in relation to playing the game, like being frustrated with mechanics, for example. That's a gameplay emotion. I can't remember what artifact emotions are, but I've got a note here sort of saying I don't know how good a framework this is because it's derived from film studies, and that like they've just been discussing in this intro how deriving things from film studies isn't helpful, and then deriving something from film studies feels a bit weird to me. And I'm wondering if using role-playing and LARP theory would be better, and we describe it in terms of bleed or diegetic versus non-diegetic emotions. So that's something I want to explore. I can't spell. Okay. And Xenia, I'm okay, thank you. I'm really tired. I've had a really hard week, so we're just here and doing our best. I'm doing some prep for my supervision tomorrow. So I'm just going through all of my notes and making sure I've pulled out all of the things that I've identified that I want to look at, so I can then tell her tomorrow all of those things. So, oh yeah, so I want to know issue. Oh, I've kind of got that here already. Researching game content limitations. Study that used wikis. Yeah, so I read this study. I think I might have talked about this before. And it's the study I've got notes on here. And they were looking at portrayals of mental illness in all of the I think it was the top 50 games over 4 years or something. So it's a lot of games, and they identified 96 unique games from that, because obviously games can stay in those charts, or they can be duplicates like remasters or things like that, or in some way, you know, discarded. So there were 96 games in total, and in order to find portrayals of mental illness in there, what they did was they went to the wikis for those, not Wikipedia, but like the fan wikis, or official wikis some had for these games, and searched for certain terms. They had a list of the terms. The list was really limited. There were only 14 terms, and the only conditions they searched for were anxiety, depression, and schizophrenia, which is I feel like if you asked a person who didn't know much about mental health to name some mental illnesses, those are the ones that they'd name, because anxiety and depression are the socially acceptable mental illnesses, and then schizophrenia is the one that people know about that isn't considered socially acceptable, which is a clusterfuck on its own. But yeah, it was really interesting to me that they did that. And initially I was like, well, why didn't you just play all of the games to look for those portrayals yourself? And then I realised they'd have to play 96 games. But not only would they have to play 96 games, in order to check for any portrayal whatsoever, they'd have to play every hour of content for all 96 of those games. Now, Mass Effect 3 released in that time. If you play everything in Mass Effect 3, including all the DLCs, that's 100 plus hours of gameplay, right? And you could still miss things because there are things in games where you make a decision and you meet someone instead of someone else. Like if you're playing Knights of the Old Republic, the Old Republic, the MMO, you, depending on what class you are, your different class companions mean that you won't meet the other ones. Yeah, right? So you'd have to then potentially play some games multiple times. So obviously that doesn't work necessarily. I'm doing it for my thing because I don't need to play 96 games. Also, I've got longer. But I don't know how else you do it. And it's a really interesting issue in video games research of how do you do that in a way that has methodological strength but still actually finds all the information you need. The study showed that 69% of the portrayals of mental illness was homicidal maniacs who may not even be mentally ill, frankly. And I think it's a little bit problematic that they did consider homicidal maniacs to be mentally ill, because it's the thing that we get. And I don't want to talk too much about recent events because I that's but it's really hard not to look at the reaction to mass shootings in America and the number of people who immediately go, oh, that person was just mentally ill, when in fact no, most mentally ill people are not violent. There's lots of research to show this, but the problem is that our media gives us all of these representations and calls them mental illness, when in fact it's just often an angry white man with a gun. And it's a really big problem, and I get really angry about it. I'm gonna drink some water. So that's another weakness of that study. Actually, I'm just gonna write that note on here. Also, this was partly derived from film studies too. So that's also an issue. It's also a problem that they consider these people mentally ill, cool. So I've got a note on that. Do I have any? I do have a handkerchief in here. Wow. Okay, so that's that page. I don't think I'm going to worry too much about my strenuous sacrifice notes, because I think I'm going to remember that well enough to get excited about it with my supervisor. I still feel really uncomfortable being silent on stream, even though I'm working, and you can see that I'm working, and you can see what I'm working on. And I still feel like I shouldn't ever be silent. I'll also have these notes in front of me when I'm talking to her, so I can do that as I'm talking. I think I've got a lot of this down already, actually, because this is all the stuff about flow state, and I've got that all down there. We might have done this after I'd gotten to this point in my notes. Just making a note that flow state is connected to positive psychology. Positive psychology has some controversy around it in terms of how accepted it is. There was a whole article I read on positive psychology. I got really excited about the article, then went and read more about positive psychology and was like, it's hard. I think I understand why from my brief reading about it, I understand why the movement was created, and I think there's a lot in it that is good and useful, and I think flow state is probably one of those things. Basically, the idea with positive psychology is to look at the way our brains work well, our minds work well, as well as the way that they work badly, because a lot of the research in mental health had been into the ways that we work badly and how to fix them, whereas positive psychology is let's look at the ways that our brains work well and how to achieve that. So moving towards positive rather than away from negative. Obviously there's a lot of problems with the negative framing of mental illness anyway, because it continues to ostracize people who experience any non-normative mental experience. This is almost a separate thing, but also kind of related. The problem is that positive psychology has the issue of toxic positivity. If you go too far into it and lean too far that way. I definitely think there are ways to take from positive psychology that frame it, I was going to say in a realistic way, but I think I mean in a more balanced way, and don't forget to look at the things that are, because there are bad things about the experience of being mentally ill. I'm not trying to claim there aren't, and there are things that can be addressed and fixed, but by looking at that positive thing as well, it helps you move away from the I as a mentally ill person and broken and must be fixed, and that the only way to fix me is by completely removing my mental illness, which is also impossible. It's not possible. I think there's a balance in there. I think there's a balance to be had, but I do need to be cautious when talking about flow state that I'm actively discussing the fact that it's related to this perspective, and that I think this perspective has limitations, because toxic positivity is a problem. If you're not familiar, toxic positivity is basically ignoring everything that's wrong and being positive. Like, you know, the sort of eternal optimist kind of thing. For example, if here I always came in and was like, hey, we're here to do some work's going great, guys, I would never show you what it's actually like to do a PhD, because you need to see the days where I'm really frustrated and can't get things sorted, or where I don't manage to do anything, or where I'm really worried and stressed about stuff. You know, those are as valid a part of it as the positive stuff. So that's where it becomes a problem, and it especially becomes a problem in response to injustices, and things like racism and racial abuse. That's another place where toxic positivity has been discussed more recently, because don't tell people to cheer up when they're experiencing systemic generational racism. Go fuck yourself. Not you. I'm sure you're all lovely. But you get what I mean. This is as versus with, and I've got as versus with down there. So I think actually we've gone through all of my notes, because I'd already gone through them. Hi, Molly. I'd already gone through them before, so I'll there we go. Get rid of that. What a welcome to the channel. You're all terrible people. Hi Jim, welcome. I'm sorry I haven't responded to your message yet. I've had a really shitty week, but I'm here. So speaking of not being toxically positive, yes, it was. And hi, Rafi, as well. Hi everyone. It's lovely to have you all here. Yeah, what we're doing right now is trying to get me back on track after that horrible week. I have gotten to that state where I'm just overwhelmed and I don't know what the fuck is going on, and it's all too much. So we have our list of help what the fuck. This is what I actually called this note I made today. We're going through help what the fuck. And we have gone through, I've got a supervision tomorrow. And also for anyone who's new, so I have, I'm in relatively constant contact with my supervisor, or I can be if I need to. But I also have monthly formal, semi-formal supervisions, which then get written up. I have to do monthly write-ups to explain what I've done in the month, and part of that is explaining what we've done in supervision, and then my supervisor has to say, yes, that is what we did, and I'm required to do that every month. And I've got a supervision tomorrow, and I want to be able to go in and actually tell her how I'm doing, not go in and go, I don't remember, I don't know what's going on, I'm a mess, everything is terrible, because that's not actually true, but it is what I felt like before I got here this morning. And just a second, I'm just going to move my microphone back. So that I no longer have to be talking like over here. I'm just going to turn that camera away as well, because I'm constantly quite aware that it's there and I might hit my head on it. Yeah, so I know I want to read through my write-up because my supervisor will be going through that with me as well. But I won't do that on stream because that would be super boring. I'll do that later. Also, it's an easier thing that I can do later. So it's not a thing we need to do now. I've got some reading I was working on doing that I could continue doing. And then there's also the presentation to finish. What I think we're actually going to do is, because I don't remember, I know I had some stuff to write still. Because if I move this over to, here we are. I did that. We won't talk about how well that went. Edit and or make additions to script. I was in the process of finishing. So if I pull us over to, and I quickly need to warn you, because I'm going to pull us over to this write-up. This write-up does have some mention of sensitive topics. It does mention suicide and self-harm. It does mention psychosis. It has some spoilers for different things. Yeah, just be aware that that's going to be on screen whilst I move us over to this. So here we go. Now I'm on this side. It's so that I'm least in the way and also always looking at the stuff. That's all right, Chimp. It's lovely to see you, and good luck with your session. And it was lovely to see you and talk to you. So yeah, we're in here, and I can work out. I think it was, if I just make these bold so I can see them easily, and then those. Okay. So I actually find ethics kind of interesting, especially in relation to my research, but I know it can also be boring, so good luck. Don't fall asleep. All right. Cool. I think we just stopped because I zoned out last time I was doing this. Yeah, because I did say we could wait and do presentation stuff next week, but it's just, so we've got another hour. I think I'm gonna stick to only doing 2 hours today, but we'll see how I feel after 2 hours. I've been doing like 3-4 hour streams because of playing games, but it's really different when you're playing a game to doing this. This feels much more tiring. So I could do this. I could do this right up. We could do some reading. I'm a little bit scared of... Oh. My phone says it's time to take medication. Excuse me just a moment. As I reach over to my trusty bin of all of my medications. Right. Also, I think a book just got shipped to me. That's exciting. Is that a book being shipped to me? Yes, it is. It's shipping Anxiety's book to me. Yay. Okay. Speaking of books, oh my god. The best thing I did this past week, other than listening to my brother laugh when I gave him his birthday present, because that was pretty good, was read the entirety of Catherine Cho's Inferno in one sitting. It's so good. It's about postpartum psychosis, but it's just so beautifully written. I don't know why I said but there. I mean, and it's just so beautifully written. It's like I'm apologising for the fact that it's about postpartum psychosis, and I don't really mean to. Sorry, that's my internalized ableism coming out there. It's beautifully written. It's so evocative. It does really well at drawing you into the terror of what she was experiencing, but she's so good at explaining depersonalization and derealization and dissociation. That really resonated with me because one of the problems I've had this past week is I've been dissociating a lot. And if you're not familiar with what that is, so there's kind of different types. Depersonalization and derealization are different kinds of dissociation. Or sometimes depersonalization is described as separate to dissociation. It depends how you're defining it. But basically it's when you sort of go out of connection with reality. Everyone does this to a degree. It's like a natural defensive mechanism we have. Like in a time of crisis, you can separate from yourself so that you're able to cope with it, and then the idea is that you effectively delay having the emotional reaction, and then you have the emotional reaction later. Like people who are involved in accidents and find that they're able to stay completely calm and get everyone safely out of the situation, and then they collapse later on. They've probably dissociated in order to do that. Not always, but often that's the purpose it's meant to serve. When it happens as a symptom of mental illness, it just gets triggered by anything. Just goes off at random points, and you can sort of feel like you're separate from your body and like observing what's going on around you. Something I have is a kind of like solipsism where I can be literally holding on to my husband and not able to fully realise. There's like a part of me that doubts that he's real, even though I can literally see and feel him there. I have trouble connecting to that, so that's the sort of thing that I experience. And yeah, Cho does such an amazing description of that sort of thing, and obviously her version, which involves psychosis as well, and more delusion. But it's such a beautiful book, and just go and read it. It's just so good. Go and read it. Right. Do I want to do writing now? Do I feel able to do writing now? I am feeling a little bit anxious, and I don't know whether it's because I'm trying to make myself do something I'm not able to right now. Okay. I'm gonna try a paragraph, because these aren't necessarily long paragraphs. I know the comics one is really long. The interactive novel one's about the length I meant, and then this one is just like twice as long. The benchmark paragraph, yeah. Alright. In the video game... Oh, also, I'm on the really clicky keyboard, so I apologise in advance, and I'll move this further away to try and help you. In the video game, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. The developers worked closely with psychologists, people who had experienced psychosis. I'm going to spell psychosis correctly, and I am also going to change that to who experienced, so it's not all past tense, because that's a bit weird. People who experience psychosis to be able to present a game that was as realistic to the experience of psychosis as possible. This was achieved through multi-sensory immersion, sound design, simulated Senua's... I don't know why I'm reading this aloud whilst I'm doing it. It's auditory as well, not audio. The paragraph is happening. It's just really... I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Sound design simulated Senua's auditory hallucinations whilst... Yeah, if it helps. Whilst images used to show her visual hallucinations. The sound was not only to show me. I'm going to write a shorter paragraph, not like the comics one. Also me. Me. I'm struggling to write this paragraph. Also me. It also has a VR version, furthering the use of technology to improve. Yeah, it's exactly the same length. It's exactly the same length. Let me just read that aloud to see if that works. In the video game Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, the developers worked closely with psychologists and people who experience psychosis to be able to present a game that was as realistic to the experience of psychosis as possible. This was achieved through a multi-sensory immersion, Sound design simulated Senua's auditory hallucinations, whilst images were used to show her visual hallucinations. To show the voices she hears, they utilised surround sound, which created greater immersion by making it sound like the voices were coming from different, I'm going to say places, not points. Whilst her visual hallucinations became a part of the game's mechanics, something you had to engage with and use to help you move onwards. The game also has a VR version. I'm just going to assume they know what VR is. I'm not going to explain what VR is. It's a passing mention. Furthering the use of technology to improve immersion and thus better convey the embodied experience of psychosis. Cool. I'm just going to keep going. It's working. We're just going to keep going. This is happening, so we will continue. Fan fiction. Yeah, it does sound good. I might read through, if we get it all written up, I'll then read through everything and we can time it and see how, because this is meant to be a 10-minute presentation. I want to leave a little bit of extra time because I want to make sure when I have slides, if there's any images on the slides, I want to pause to describe them. And I'm going to also make sure that any text that's on the slides is something that I speak, just from an accessibility point of view. I went to a workshop with the Welcome Collection, and all of the presenters did that, and it was so amazing. Like, they came in and, like, to introduce themselves, they did, this would be the equivalent of what they were doing is, hello everyone, I'm Rebecca. I am a white woman with brown hair that's tied back, wearing a blue shirt. And they'd introduce themselves like that, just straight away, with audio description, and it was so good. Yeah, I know. I was at the start of this and I was like, I'm so glad I'm not on camera because I'm just really excited. Like, I don't need that as an accessibility thing, but I feel like, certainly for me, the more I need in terms of accessibility, the more I am, like, really excited when other people get what they need to. Almost like I can't help but be a cheerleader for other people's accessibility arrangements. Okay. Fanfiction may seem like an odd thing to place alongside video games and comics. I guess not as odd to place alongside comics. I'm just stealing this sentence and then adding to it because I've realised that this is badly written. Because the more I've been thinking about it, the more I've realised that it's two things. It's not just how the writer produces their text, it's also how the reader engages with that text. And I do sort of go on to say that, but I think that's a really important thing to mention as well. Now the question is, I don't know if I'm going to have room to explain both of those things in detail. Or can I try and do it in a short way? don't apologise for all the texting, it's fine. Yeah, so I definitely think, especially with academic writing, what I really find is I'm really scared of starting. And once I start, it's not as bad. It's like I have to get over the hurdle of my fear of not being able to do it. Which is, ironically, it's something that comes really easily to me as well. It's that hurdle is definitely not placed there by my innate ability. It's placed there by my mental illness. But yeah, then when I get into it, it tends to flow a bit more. Starting is harder. Starting is a lot harder, I think. And I think I also find with academic writing that the word count goes a lot quicker than I expect. I think I find that with all writing, not just academic writing. Like my dissertation last year was technically a creative piece, and I blew the shit out of the word count for that. The word count requirement was 12,000 words, and you're allowed to be 10% over or under. And I got to a point where I had to stop pretending that it was 12,000 words limit and that the limit was just the 10% over, because I couldn't get it down to 12,000. I spent like hours on stream trying to get it down to 12,000 and it did not happen. Writing fanfiction has limitations. I don't know. I love it's really hard not to just. Let's see how long this is, because this is a bigger. I was like, this font size is bigger. It won't be as bad. It's bad. The reader then selects their text. I'm trying to think of a really like a really standard fandom tag that's a bit weird, but that you would actually search by. I'm horrible to these characters because I love them. Yeah, OTP would work as well, but then I'd have to explain what OTP is. I haven't been able to talk about the technology of the AO3 there, but I'm not going to have time. Right, let me quickly write up this group immersion example. There's going to be spoilers on screen and in my writing and in my talking for the table story show, the Cerebrum Project. It's for relatively early on, and you should watch the Cerebrum Project anyway, but carefully, because it comes with a lot of trigger warnings. I don't know why I've put this in there. I think it's just that I want this example to be... Hang on, well, I'm now questioning whether we're going to put this in there at all. The spoilers are on the screen, but... I don't like that as an ending. I think I want a different ending to this presentation. throw it all out. I don't want this at all. I'll get the spoilers off the screen. I haven't talked about artist books. Oh, I have. Yeah, it's there. I feel like... No, I think saving role-playing makes sense for that. Hang on, right. Where's my timer? Okay. We're gonna get...
GM Rafi cried X 100 happy tears. I have to run. My partner is forgetting to eat lunch again.
Oh, I hope you managed to get them some lunch. And thank you so much for the bits. And take care, and I'll see you again soon. We're gonna go into presentation mode. I'm gonna read this through. I will, thank you. Okay. I can't believe the start of this. I can't believe you all convinced me to have this start to the presentation. But the good thing is that it's going to make me laugh before I start the presentation. That's going to help. Okay, here we go. I'm going to actually remember to start the timer as well. Hello, I'm Rebecca, and I'm using my PhD as an excuse to play video games, read comics, and write fanfiction. I'm also looking for a way to express my severe and chronic mental illness. Because if there's one common theme amongst people with mental illness, it's that we're all desperately struggling for ways to explain ourselves to others. I can explain my symptoms to you in isolation, but that doesn't tell you what it feels like to have those symptoms, and it definitely doesn't tell you what it's like to have those symptoms every day for your entire life. My PhD thesis explores a selection of media forms that I believe can show you what it's like to live like I do. Media that is immersive enough to make you feel like me, interactive enough to make you act like me, and multisensory enough to make it believable. Media that can connect you so deeply to my experience that you feel, for a short while and in a safe way, like you are living it. This can't convey the experience of my illness entirely, you still remain fundamentally yourself, but it comes a lot closer than just listing how symptoms work. Today I'm going to give you an overview of the themes that I'm looking at and how they relate to my media forms. Perhaps the most important theme in my research is interactivity. The moment you start interacting directly and actively with something, rather than passively consuming like with standard books or films, your experience of the interaction is heightened. Interactive experiences are powerful. Within video games and visual and interactive novels, as well as role-playing, the player, or reader, is required to make choices that determine the directions the narrative takes. Sometimes this is an illusion. The narrative may actually be a limited set of branching paths, but to the player it may still feel unlimited. This results in an ownership over the actions of the narrative, a sense of agency that allows them to identify as the avatar, not with them. This is a necessary distinction for conveying the embodied experience of mental illness, because if you identify with a character, you will be observing their experience. If you identify as a character, you will be feeling their experience. And this is the distinction I'm looking for in these mostly first-person forms. Interactivity also plays a key role in artist books. Because an artist book is a physical artifact that must be handled, it is by its very nature interactive and immersive, qualities that place it alongside these other mediums such as video games that might otherwise seem a decidedly strange companion. But handling artist books is a visceral experience, grounding the sense of reality in the present moment. The responsibility that's added in as the handler of such a unique object only serves to heighten this experience and make you own your interactions. This ownership and identity serves to improve immersiveness when interacting with these experiences. It is when you are immersed that you are experiencing rather than viewing, and all of the forms I'm looking at immerse the player or reader in some form, and use the nature of that immersion to control the player's experience. For example, in the interactive novel Depression Quest, the player attempts to get through life as a person with severe depression. Cleverly, the text displays but takes away certain options. By both giving and restricting the reader's agency, Depression Quest simulates the frustration of living with depression, where things that should be possible seem instead to be impossible. I want to change that wording there. Just gonna bold that. That's right, I would be describing a slide there anyway. Comics can effectively navigate the question of temporal continuity or distortion, another key aspect of immersion into the embodied experience of mental illness. Ali Brosh's Solutions and Other Problems gives an excellent example of the representation of cryptime in pages 198 to 209. Following the reveal of Brosh's sister's abrupt death by suicide on page 197, the comic goes into a dozen pages that lack any text whatsoever, showing only a collection of images of Brosh and her sister as young children. The pages do not have page numbers, unlike the rest of the book, indicating a deliberate choice to sever the reader from temporal continuity, trapping them in the non-temporal experience of grief. This is made all the more immersive by her childlike drawing style, which plays on the cartoon's ability to cause a reader to see themselves in the page rather than another person. In the video game Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, the developers work closely with psychologists and people who experience psychosis to be able to present a game that was as realistic to the experience of psychosis as possible. This was achieved through a multi-sensory immersion. Sound design simulated Senua's auditory hallucinations, whilst images were used to show her visual hallucinations. To show the voices she hears, they utilised surround sound, which created greater immersion by making it sound like the voices were coming from different places, whilst her visual hallucinations became a part of the game's mechanics, something you had to engage with and use to help you move onwards. The game also has a VR version, furthering the use of technology to improve immersion and thus better convey the embodied experience of psychosis. Now, fanfiction, like artist books, might seem a strange companion to video games and interactive novels. It doesn't inherently provide this sort of immersive experience we've discussed. The end product is similar in structure and form to normal fiction. What makes fanfiction's relationship to the embodied experience interesting is how the writer experiences producing their text and how the reader engages with that text. The fanfiction author has the world already built around them and more room to focus on other things like character development. However, they also have limitations. Stray too far and they will no longer be constructing a transformative work but a disjointed semi-original. These limitations, however, can be the freedom unto themselves. With less room, there's fewer choices to be made, and more focus can be put on telling a story, as if the fandom the work is based upon were a mask in commedia dell'arte. The reader then selects their text in a unique way. They search not by general genre, but by fandom and even by tags, descriptive text that ranges from thematic, like drama or comedy, to the hilarious, I'm horrible to these characters because I love them. Now, you might be asking yourself what the purpose behind understanding these things is. It's all very interesting, but what use does it have? So I've talked already about Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and a study of this game found evidence that the game is helping people to better identify with, understand, and appreciate the difficulties of people experiencing psychosis. This article examined the impact of the game upon mental illness stigma, and their conclusion was that video games can reduce stigma as long as the portrayal shown in the game is not stigmatizing. And this is the very crux of looking for texts that have been produced by or in conjunction with the mentally ill. In order to accurately represent our experiences, we must be present in the conversation and creation of these texts. If you are not, you get situations like in the World of Darkness role-playing game. In these games, characters can acquire what are known as derangements, which are either supernatural effects or mundane mental illnesses such as PTSD, OCD, and DID. These are generally acquired through some form of trigger occurring in-game. However, they can be used at character creation using the merits and flaws system. This means that in exchange for having a mental illness, a character gains more points to spend on other skills like combat or social prowess. This setup is clearly problematic and ableist. It builds upon the trope that disabled people are valuable only because their disability is in exchange for some kind of gift. Now that is 8.5 minutes. Solid talking. Give me a moment. I went through it pretty quickly as well. Like I feel like I was talking real fast. Also, I was doing it in I have a voice that I do when I'm reading aloud. It's like my BBC voice. This is the voice I talk to my grandparents in, or well, just to my gran now, but that's the voice I do. I also do it when I'm around people where I want to look more like cleverer as well, is I just go posher. Because otherwise I can occasionally have times where I go a bit Norfolk. I'm like a bit of a chameleon as well when it comes to speech. I will pick up other people's ways of speaking really easily. But yeah, so there were a couple of bits in there where I want to change some wording. It's not a huge problem. I particularly wanted seem instead to are instead made to be impossible, because if I say seem impossible, it makes it sound like I'm saying that depression doesn't do that. Basically, I don't want any more like big content. I want a paragraph that wraps it up, that really just says, I'm just going to write as I'm talking aloud. So if my thesis is looking for anything, it is this: how can these media forms transmit the embodied experience? Why does it work the way it does? And I can't have an and after a semicolon. Editors in the world just screamed in pain. How can these media forms transmit the embodied experience? Why do they work the way they do? And what difference can it make to have more authentic representations of this embodied experience out there in the world? Thank you. Because that then gives me that extra, because that won't take me more than 10 seconds to say, that extra minute and a half basically is room during which I'll be describing slides. We did a thing. Oh, I shouldn't have lifted my arm up. Sorry, arm. Yeah, I know. I couldn't lift my arms higher than this yesterday, so without severe difficulty. Notion. Edit and or make additions to script. Done. And what, by planning the slides, what I will do is I'll just like make blank slides effectively and sort of plan it in excuse me, I'll plan it in the presentation form rather than in that text. Yeah, that text is done. Good work. We have done many things. Go back to my help, what the fuck? Oh, no, not that one. Right. That... You know what, actually? I might put a bit more plan in my plan. And I'm going to put presentation prep. And that is... I guess it's planning. And I'm going to put that in next week. Cool. And then I'll put C. Link to an existing page. Fuck. I mean, that'll do. There must be a way to link to a subpage. Ah, cool. Anyway, right, I've put that in there. March. I've got loads of time. I've got so much time. Looking at this plan is good because it means that I've looked at the fact that I've got until the middle of June, and that is with leaving an extra month spare at the end of everything. It's more than a month. That ends in September. That's leaving October and November spare as well. Oh no, I think I can't remember when in November my probation review is. It's somewhere in there. It's probably towards the end because my start date is towards the end of January. But yeah, I think, where are we with time? We're an hour and a half in, so I'm gonna move us over to here. I'm gonna become giant again. We're just gonna chat for a bit. It's almost like we're in just chatting. And ow. Moving sucks. Yeah. Thank you for being here with this today. This has really helped. It is so easy to get overwhelmed with something like this, where so much of it is about exploration and the amount of time where you're actually pulling things together, where, you know, the point where it feels like you're really doing the work is comparatively little of it, really. Like, that felt like it then, doing that writing, but that's for a presentation that doesn't even you know, it's not part of my actual thesis. It's helping me, it's giving me good experience, and I you know, that I can use later on for my Viva and stuff, and it's helping me professionally and developing me as a person, which is a thing I'm meant to be doing alongside writing a thesis. But it's really hard, and I think the thing that makes it hardest when it feels like that is, in my reading, I have been finding such good things. I've been identifying themes and problems, like so much of video games being derived from film studies is a problem, and all sorts of like stuff like that I've been identifying is really good. And I think it's good to keep making myself come back to that page where I've got all that stuff, even if I haven't like pulled it together and written it up. If I can develop those notes I've got there into, you know, making sure that they're as put together as they can be, then that's a lot of the work. It's almost, I think it's so easy to think of the writing part as the main work, and it's not. This is the main work. This stuff where I'm worrying that I'm not doing enough and that it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything and that I'm behind and I'm a terrible person, and it's bullshit. I'm doing really well. And yeah. I know I need to find more games to play through. I'm one of the reasons. Oh, sorry, I've just shaken everything on my desk. One of the reasons I want to find. I'm just chatting now. By the way, this is literally just chatting. Just so, excuse me, rambling. It's helping me think through things. I know I've got a list of more games. One of the reasons I want to try and move to 3 streams a week is I don't want 50% of my stream time to be spent playing games. I want to show like the other research I'm doing as well. And so if I can have if I can get to 3 streams a week, I can be doing 1 that's playing through games, and then 2 that are working on reading and writing up and all of the other stuff. To show you all of that and to help me have a place where I can do all of that and feel supported. I can't tell you how much it helps to have people here and chatting and encouraging me and asking questions, and it's really great. You're really great. Thank you. But yeah, so I'm nervous about my supervision. I love my supervisor. She knows a lot about me and my illness and is wonderful, and I'm only ever worried that I'll disappoint her. I'm not ever worried that she'll be upset with me. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. I've got mentoring beforehand as well. And I can oh, that's a good point. On my where I put that presentation prep date, I need to remember in that that my mentor has offered to listen to let me present my presentation to her, which I think is going to be super helpful. Obviously I've done it to all of you here as well, and that's also been helpful. Excuse me just a second, everyone. There we go. That text will disappear in a moment. I think maybe if I just do this, then it'll update and that'll go. Come on. Oh well, it'll go in a second. Maybe if I refresh it. There we go. Sorry about that. We get weirdos and just chatting, and that's really creepy. Don't do that. You're a fucking creep. I've completely lost what I was saying because of creepy people on the internet. Oh yeah, I was saying I'll do my presentation for my mentor, and that'll help a lot. I think especially because I can ask her if I'm talking too fast or if it's, you know, it can be taken in. But I don't know. We'll see. Wow, my leg's really hurting now. Not this one, the other one. Yeah, I think what I need to do now is I think I need to go. I really need to eat something because I'm very hungry. I've not eaten yet today. Partly because I got up a quarter of an hour before the stream started. But I can go and feel really accomplished. I feel like I've done loads, that it's more under control. We know what's going on. We know what's happening. And I can chill out for either the rest of the day if I need to, which I think I might. So part of the problem was that yesterday I went, okay, I'm not able to do anything. I'm too exhausted. I need to stop. But we also had a big delivery coming of just bedroom furniture, like, so it's exciting, but nothing like wildly complicated or anything. But when deliveries are coming, I am in panic mode the whole time through the delivery window, and it was a 5-hour delivery window. And then they arrived right at the end of it, like, in fact, slightly after it, and I was just so uncomfortable. I didn't actually get to really rest yesterday, and I really needed to, so I think I might rest for the rest of today. Tomorrow I can get up, have mentoring, do some more reading, have my supervision. That'll feel like a good amount, and then on Friday we'll press on and do some more. I think that's probably the plan. I think that sounds like a good plan. And yeah, just being careful and taking it easy, and continuing to make my pretty village in Minecraft, or playing with bunk beds in The Sims. That's definitely... Oh, it's also reset day, and wow. Oh, I can see what's in my vault. When there's too many things. But I'm gonna go be excited about those things and eat some food, and I'm gonna leave you all. Thank you all so much for being here, as always. Let me see if I want to send you anywhere else. I don't think... No, most of the people I would send you to are not yet online, because I'm finishing slightly early. So thank you all very much for coming and for being here. Thank you for your support and for helping me. I really do mean it. I'm not just saying that. It does help a lot, especially with how hard things are. It makes so much of a difference. So thank you all for being here and for all your support. And I'm terrible at saying goodbye, so I'm just gonna go.